started. Move, it started now.
Nope.
No, count the cloud.
As I was reaching the bathroom, he sprinted up the stairs so fast. I locked the door and tried not to cry. The man tried to open the door.
There's scary animations.
The doorknob. The bathroom had a small blurry window, but I was able to see
It has 5 views now.
What?
The one where we picked you up.
hair and without a nose. He was wearing a very weird outfit and was holding a gigantic knife. I had no other choice, so I quickly hopped inside the bath, opened the big window, and jumped out. I slid off the big roof.
How the freak did you slid off the big?
Because I was so scared. As I was about to hop on the fence, I heard the cops. They entered our house, and after that, they arrested and cuffed him. When he walked past me, I was so scared and my body was shivering. But I was glad that it was over. The police contacted my parents, so they came back home in a hurry. I would see them again, and I knew that I was safe now. From then on, I never stayed at home alone.
Green machine. Oh my
I was
god.
in prison for several years for scaring kids and for possible murder.
Okay, no, I'm still playing.
My name is Jude, and I'm 27 years old. I've always loved going camping ever since I was a young boy. Some of my earliest memories were of me sitting around the fire with mom, dad, and grandfathers, singing songs and telling stories.
Oh.
Whenever we told stories, we always ended the night on a scary story, right before going to bed. And my grandfather's stories were always the best. His descriptions gave me chills as he described vivid characters and monsters from his imagination. I always loved to hear his stories, but once, when I was 10 years old, something happened that scares me to this day. One cool autumn day, my parents decided to take me camping with my grandfather, as we always did around that time of year. We arrived at the campsite around 6 o'clock, and on the way in, I saw that the campsite we were driving into was different than the one we usually camped at.
Why are you looking like that, dude?
The entrance to the campground seemed old, and a lichen-covered stone sign with the name of the grounds greeted us as we drove in. We arrived and set up our tents. After eating dinner and cleaning up, we sat around the campfire as usual to tell our stories. I can't remember all of the stories told, except for the last, my grandfather's story. I remember the smell of the burning wood and burnt orange sunlight casting long shadows off into the trees behind us as he began to tell his tale. He started by saying that it was a true story from his childhood,
Shut
and
up.
he had waited to tell it to me until I was old enough. This grabbed my attention, as usually my grandfather told fake stories, and never about himself. He said that he had been camping at the same campsite we were staying at when his story occurred. He started by saying the campground had been built back in the 1930s by CCC workers during the Great Depression, which, looking back, explained the oldness of the park. But at the time, as a kid, I really didn't. He said that one night, around 1960-something, while camping with his father, he was fishing at the lake down at the end of the long hiking trail that led back to the campground. His dad told him it was time to leave, and they started off down the trail. As he was walking, he began to feel a strange sensation, as if he was being followed. He turned back, but supposedly saw nothing several times. He kept walking until he said he was stopped by a long, eerie moan rippling up from behind the trees. He described it as sounding like a ghost or a person being slowly injured. He and his dad stopped in their tracks. His dad apparently tried to tell him it was a coyote, but my grandfather knew better. He told me it wasn't a coyote. He believed it was something else, something more sinister. Nevertheless, after this encounter, he returned back to the campsite with his dad and never saw or heard anything else. He claimed that this was true, and obviously he wouldn't be telling this to us if he hadn't been affected by it. But to me, it seems silly. Scared by a noise? Come on. Anyway, about 2 days later, I was walking back to the site with my grandfather from a long day of hiking and picking wild berries in the nearby forest. Both of us were carrying heavy baskets full of berries to bring home. The sun was setting, and I noticed the long shadows peering out from behind the trees. As it began to grow darker, dead darker, the trees began to grow longer.
Dad, be quiet. Talk to me else.
Began to
Good
feel a
video.
weird sensation in my stomach, like I was being watched. After about 5 minutes, the feeling began to grow. I looked at my grandfather. He looked right back at me with the same fearful eyes. I was in shock. Did he feel the same feeling? Then I remembered his story about the way he felt the night he heard the noise. I began to walk faster, and so did my grandfather, without saying a word. After about 20 minutes, it was completely dark, and our arms ached for carrying the berries up the trail. Right as I turned a corner, I heard a long, eerie moan. My heart stopped as I froze in fear. My grandfather looked at me and said, "It's time to go." With that, we began wailing swiftly down the trail as fast as we could without dropping our berries. Just as I began to relax, I heard it again. Only this time, it was much louder. It sounded like someone being murdered. It was terrifying. It came from directly behind us, and I felt a burning sensation in the back of my head. I dared not look back. I sat in fear, wondering of what could have made the noise. When suddenly I heard my grandfather scream, "Run!" I
We'll be down in like.
Yo,
We'll be
oh, got it.
We'll be
whipped my
down.
head around, and in the dark, foggy light, I squinted.
I didn't do that
and
to
saw
yours.
a tall,
I don't
slender
pause
black
it.
shadow dark between the trees about 100 feet behind us on the trail. I instantly dropped my bucket and ran like the wind down the trail as fast as I could. My grandfather was behind me. I became worried about him, as he was an old man, and I was afraid he might hurt himself running down the rocky trail. But I didn't stop, nor did he until we reached the campsite. That night, I sat in my tent, heart racing, thinking about what could have made that noise. After we came back home, we never